Hello, Goody Two Shoes. Long time no see. Purely my fault. So everyone is doing this mid-year book freakout tag. Something along those lines. I don't think I said that right. That's how I wrote it in my reading journal. Okay, so I don't have answers to all of the questions, and I don't even know if I have all of the questions. I have 1 through 12, but I'm also skipping like 3 questions at least. And there could be more questions, I don't know, but these are the ones that I have answers to. These are the ones that I'm going to do. So yeah, question number 1 is, what is your favorite book that you've read this year? So I really loved what I've been doing, and that's like I have a list of, where did I put it? A list of all of the books, my favorite books from 2023. So I have them for each book of the month, but I tried to narrow these down to 1 book and I couldn't do it. I narrowed it down to 2 books, and that is The Fill-In Boyfriend by Casey West. I really enjoy most of her books, and this one, I reread it. I read it in like a few hours. I read it in a day, and I love it. I love it. So that one is definitely a top, probably one of the like top favorites. And then I also really enjoyed reading The Unhoneymooners. It was like eating candy. Reading it was like eating candy. So like, you can't, if you read a book that tastes like candy, you can't not put that in your top, right? Question number 2 is, what is the best sequel that you have read this year? So I think this is just like books that are in a series, but not the first book. My books, the first one would be Cress in the Lunar Chronicles. When I got my wisdom teeth pulled in January, so like a few days before my birthday, I think I got my wisdom teeth pulled on the 11th. My birthday's on the 15th. So in recovery, which honestly wasn't terrible, I'm very thankful for that. I reread all of the Lunar Chronicles. Actually, I think all of Marissa Meyer's books. I like listened to the audiobooks and I reread them, and I didn't actually read this version. I listened to the audiobook in English, but I have an Italian copy of Cress, so I followed along with the English audiobook, followed along in the Italian copy that I have. It's not as pretty as this one though, so. Italian copy though. You can see Lunar Chronicles in Italian. Cronache Lunari? I don't know. And then I have another one, because I can't just do one, and that is Can't Catch My Breath by Sarah Sutton. This one is my favorite of her books that's not in the Most Likely To series. I think I really like Dreaming About the Boy Next Door. So when that whole series comes out, I'm planning on purchasing the whole series, but for now, this one was my favorite sequel. But I did also really like Dreaming About the Boy Next Door. I think I read that this year, but
Almost hit myself in the face.
I think I did. So that one too, I liked that one too. Question number 4, I think. I know, I'm skipping 3. I don't have 3. I don't remember what 3 was. I think the 3rd question was like, what was your most anticipated release for this year that came out already? And I don't think I had any, except for like the Sarah Sutton books. So that was question number 3. Question number 3 was that, and Sarah Sutton's books were definitely my most anticipated releases of this year, because I don't remember anything else that came out this year. I don't know. What are your most anticipated releases for the rest of the year? So if you are following my Instagram or my blog, I recently did like a whole bunch of posts and helped some authors with their series cover reveals. So this is a series of fairy tale retelling novellas, and it's called they're called the Shattered Tales. So those are going to be releasing later this year, and I am pretty excited for those. So yay, I remembered question 3, I think. Question number 4, so the Shattered Tales, sorry, for question number 4 releases for the rest of the year. And then also A lady that I'm following on Instagram, her name is Erin Phillips. She is releasing like a fantasy historical, like biblical retelling of Ruth. And my mom really likes the Ruth retellings. She wants to tell her own, but she's like reading all of them to do research. And yeah, so that one is really releasing. It's 6 days after her birthday, so that is exciting. And yeah, so those are my most anticipated releases. Question number 6, because I don't have question number 5, is what is your biggest surprise of the year? And I have 4 apparently. So number 1 is I read a modern horror. And I have read some horrors before, but it's like I've read the short story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I've read Phantom of the Opera, and I've read Dracula. And those are classic horrors, and they weren't the most scary. But I've read now a modern horror tale story, and it scared me, so that was nice. Cross that off the bucket list. I've read a scary book, and I'm ready to dive into Stephen King now, I think, because I survived a horror book. My second surprise was that I picked up Beach Read, and it helped me love writing again. It really just gave me a different perspective on writing. Like, I'd never really thought about writing that much, I guess. It's just kind of something that I always did. So getting other people's perspective on it and how much it meant to them really helped me, I think. And honestly, after I read it and I started drafting again, one of the days I was drafting, I was sitting there writing my book. I'm like, this is my job. I get to do this for a living. And I was so happy. And I've never really thought that, doing writing and been happy about it, which is so sad. But I think I was just in a writing slump for a while. So Beach Read actually helped me get out of it, which is nice. I will be doing a Camp Nano vlog if you guys aren't just into reading. Surprise number 3, I found one of my favorite, the only book that I've read by Colleen Hoover in a store, and I bought it, and I will show you guys that in a different video. And then I picked up A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is definitely more of a surprise to me than it is to you. Most likely. I guess there are a few popular books that I just didn't plan on picking up or reading, and I think A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was kind of subconsciously one of them, but I read the back and it sounds a lot like Truly Devious, so not a super huge surprise. Those probably anticlimactic, but whatever. Those were my surprises. Those were the fun things that I did this year. Also, a new one just happened recently. I met an Instagram friend and we went to a bookstore together. So I think that qualifies for the Bookish surprises. Number 7 is, who is your new favorite author? So I have, oh my goodness, I've got like 4 apparently, I mean 5. So I liked Annie Jacobsen's books. 2 of them were kind of some new favorites, or like my favorites out of her books. Like I liked her writing and I liked the books. There's lanes. So I read a lot of Annie Jacobsen books, so I would say she's probably a new favorite author. Becky Monson, which she wrote a book that I'm also going to be sharing with you in a different video. Christina Lauren, which is 2 people. You probably know this already. I think everyone knows this at this point. But yeah, I really liked the one book of theirs that I read. The one that tasted like candy. That one. Emily Henry. I really liked Beach Read. I have heard people say that Beach Read was the best and they didn't really like any of her other books. So I'm a little scared to read the rest of them. But I think I'm going to try. And last but not least is Stephen, I don't know how to say his last name, the guy who wrote the horror book that I read, which will also be featured in the next video. Oh, my nose is red. Allergies. Skipping question 8 because I don't know what it is and I didn't write it down. Question number 9. Who is your new favorite character? So Maggie Cooper from Becky Monson's book and Olive from the Unhoneymooners. Yeah. Question number 10 is, let me look down because I didn't look before I started talking. What is a book that made you cry? So this was Imaginary Friend. This was the horror book that I read. It did make me cry, especially when it was ending. I was crying in the car because I was so close to finishing it, but I needed to go. I was going to a Bible study, but I was almost done. And so on the hour drive to the Bible study, I finished the book in the car, and my mom was sitting right next to me, and I cried. Right next to my mom in the car. Yeah. Question 11 is, what is a book that made you happy? And honestly, instead of saying the one that tasted like candy again, I'm actually going to say Crave by, what was her name? I can't remember. Crave by, oh, I didn't write it down. Crave by whoever that was by, because it was just like a cheesy vampire book, and at the time that I was reading it, I was there for it. And I couldn't finish the series, but I think I'd kind of like to, even though there were parts that I didn't love, and it was getting a little boring for me. I think I'd like to try to finish it. It might still be like releasing. I know there's at least 5 books, and they're like massive books, and yeah. So there's that one. And then, what are some beautiful books that you have acquired this year? That's the last question that I have. There might be more, but I don't know. And I've acquired a lot of books this year, so we're gonna go through some of them. These are the, what are they called? The Flame Tree Publishing. I think they're Gothic Fantasy, that's somewhere. I can't remember where it is, but it's Gothic Fantasy. So I have this collection of Sherlock Holmes. It's kind of hard to see, but it's like gold and red, and there's the Sherlock Holmes hat right here. I think the pipe, yeah, it's his face and the pipe. It's kind of hard to see with the light, but I have this, and it's just really pretty collectible. Very shiny, so it's hard to see in the light. Should I turn the light off? Will that make it better? There we go. You can see it now, just not my face. Yes, so this one is Haunted House Short Stories, and this one is Ghost Stories. Look how shiny it is. And there are so many more of them. I'd like to get them all. And then I recently purchased this book, and it is the collection of Jane Austen. And it is massive, look at this. And it's got gold gilded edges. I do have one other book that's completely gorgeous. I showed it in a reel, so I guess there's no spoiling here. And that's this one. It's so bright and bold, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And I'm very happy to have it. So yes, those are probably the prettiest books that I now own, and I'm very excited to say that I now own some beautiful books. And yeah, I think that is it for the book freakout tag. Jumped on the bandwagon, and I have done it, so yay. Let me know, I guess, any questions that you were really excited about, that you have, whatever your interest in those books are. Like, what was your favorite book that you read this year? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.